Right now, it seems like Ken Paxton is running a 100% culture war grift campaign against Talarico. Take a look at this. From Stephen Miller, the Democrats made history in Texas by nominating their first transgender Senate candidate. Really fresh stuff coming out from Hitler, too. I think Ken Paxton called Talarico a vegan. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Ken Paxton, your opponent, has taken to calling you Talarico.
Well, I think if Ken Paxton is worried about freaks, he should stop giving Epstein-style sweetheart deals to pedophiles. You know, this is the guy who just released...
Thank God, thank God, thank God almighty. Thank you, Talarico, for being willing to go low. Going low is what we need to do right now. So, for those of you who weren't keeping up last night, the Texas Senate primary runoff took place between Cornyn and Paxton won in a blowout. Paxton is a freak, hyper-right-wing pedophile with a million scandals under his belt. Fraud, conviction, censured by his own party, attacked by many people across the spectrum of the Republican Party, gave a serial child rapist a 60-day sentence. It ended up being even less than that, by the way. Paxton is an incredibly controversial candidate, even by Republican standards. Just like really, 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 really nasty stuff in the back end. Like, he's been attacked by a lot of Republicans too. Though, of course, Republicans have since been furiously deleting any attacks on him since they're a cult. The party's a cult. They don't care about anything besides Trump's endorsement. But yeah, Paxton won, which is probably the best case scenario for Talarico winning. I don't really care about Paxton winning from like the loss analysis, you know, because I think that Paxton can't really be that much worse than any other Republican senator. He might personally be a worse person than Cornyn, but Republicans vote as a bloc. So yeah, no, Paxton is exceptionally bad. Wasn't he impeached by his own party for corruption? Yes.
Adam Hoffman from jail, an admitted child rapist, after one of Ken Paxton's wealthy lawyer friends got involved in the case. Ken Paxton even kept him off the sex offender registry. Adam Hoffman was supposed to serve 25 years to life, but instead he served less than a month.
No, it really is that straightforward. We're talking like full-on continuous child rape, paid off Paxton, you know, gets off basically scot-free, no sex offender registry. That's how bad we're talking here.
As of this week, he's now back on our streets because of Ken Paxton's corruption. Ken Paxton is the most corrupt politician in America, and it is costing Texans. It's endangering our children, and it must end. I think the Epstein class has no place in Texas. And this November, we're going to come together to defeat Ken Paxton and take back our state for the people.
I think Talarico has a very good shot here. Paxton is such a weak candidate, and the only reason he won over Cornyn is because of Trump. Even with Trump's endorsement, it was a 64-36 split between Cornyn and Paxton. Hopefully, the people who still voted for Cornyn are like a little bit cynical about Paxton. That would be the hope, I guess. Sheesh. Hispanics like him? Paxton? Not broadly, no.
This was unthinkable even just maybe 2 weeks ago for some Republicans.
Yeah, Paxton was running a little bit ahead here, but a little bit ahead. And then when Donald Trump showed up, it changed everything. Now, if you go back to the primary results, Cornyn actually narrowly won more votes.
Most of them will fall in line, but only a few of them need to not fall in line. Talarico right now, to my understanding, is winning in the polls.
Primary, but there was a third person in the race, a guy named Wesley Hunt, and obviously those Wesley Hunt voters didn't want to vote for Cornyn, and most of those obviously have gone to Paxton. But look, the bottom line is this: if Donald Trump wants you to be the nominee of the Republican Party for virtually any office, he can will it into existence, and that has happened again tonight in Texas. There's also an attorney general campaign going on underneath this. I don't think we've called it yet, but there's a strong undercurrent of who's for Trump and who isn't in that race, and it looks like the more Trump-aligned candidate is going to win down there as well. So, you know, we're learning this lesson over and over again. Indiana, Louisiana, Kentucky.
Polymarket's almost 50-50 for Texas Senate. I don't give a fuck what Polymarket has to say. Dems are repackaging the attacks Republicans did on Paxton for the general. Yeah. This is from the NRSC. This is from the NRSC. What's that? The National Republican Senate Committee.
This is the sound of Texas. And this is how it sounds under Ken Paxton.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
So So, which Texas do you want to hear?
Does this work? That's a pretty good ad, and it's from Republicans to Republicans. So, you know, factor in your demographics here. God almighty. Here's Paxton going up after the win.
I feel speechless in a way, but you know, they're not going to let me do that. Wow. To the people in this room, to the people watching at home, and to the people of the great state of Texas, tonight, we just made history.
Sorry about the audio, deal with it.
I want to thank my family, my kids, my grandchildren, the Paxton Patriots, and every single person here today. Without your love, your support, and your prayers, we would not be here tonight celebrating this incredible victory. I'd also like to thank all of the grassroots, local, state, and national leaders who supported this campaign, including Congressman Brandon Gill, who just spoke, Lance Gooden, Congressman Nels, Congressman Wesley Hunt, and Congressman Ronnie Jackson. I'd also like to thank Scott Pressler and Turning Point Action.
Okay, get to the point.
Is the most powerful force in politics. And I'm honored to have his support, and I look forward to working with him in the Senate to deliver for Texas.
Paxton got the same amount of votes. People mostly just didn't show up to Cornyn this time around. That's actually really, really good news. So Paxton got about the same number of votes in this runoff as he did in the first primary. It's just more people didn't show up for Cornyn, which means that there's not a big swell of support for Paxton. Talarico has a very real chance here. A very, very real chance.
Tonight, we just sent a Texas-sized message to Washington. I said it in March, and I'll say it again now. Today, change was on the ballot, and change won. Let me be clear, this is not just my win, this is your win. We just proved that this Senate seat doesn't belong to Washington. It belongs to you.
By letting the president and endorsed candidate win the primary runoff. Not controlled by Washington, by the way, handpicked by the president.
You, the hardworking men and women of this state. We went up against $150 million in all the attacks in the world, and you know what happened? The voters declared loud and clear a simple truth that we know in our hearts and in our souls: Texas is not for sale. Now I want to take a minute to say something about Senator Cornyn. I want to thank Senator Cornyn for his service to this state. John has dedicated much of his life to serving Texas. He's worked diligently for years to help Texas. And for that spirit of service to the Lone Star State and our nation, I'm very grateful. Thank you, John. So no matter who you supported in this race, whether it was me, Senator Cornyn, or you voted for someone different in March, I want to thank every single Texan, and I want to let them know that I want to earn your support. Tonight is not the end of a campaign. Tonight is the beginning of the fight to preserve every...
GOP spent almost $100 million trying to boost Cornyn in the primary. It's the same story, really, as with Ron DeSantis, right? The Republican Party desperately wants to build some kind of legacy that will survive past Trump, and Trump keeps saying no. Like, the Republican Party is desperate to stabilize itself and find some way of maintaining relevance after Trump is gone, whether that be because he dies or just 2028 happens, whatever else. But they can't do it, because every time they try to do it, Trump steps in and he's like, nah, actually the only thing that matters to me is loyalty. They're aware of the fact that Trump's control of the party is in the long run a massive thorn in their side, but it doesn't matter.
Value we hold.
It's almost exactly the same problem that the German conservatives had after Hitler was made chancellor. They wanted to borrow his charisma to revitalize the party. What it didn't occur to them is that he might end up getting so popular and so powerful that they lose control of him.
The future of Texas and the future of America is on the line, and I intend to do everything I can to expand our movement. I've won 3 statewide elections because I know how critical it is for our party to come together, and that's what we must do now. Without a shadow of a doubt, I will be the Democrats' #1 target in November. Texas will be the radical left's #1 priority. But if there's one thing I know about Texans, it's that we're not going to let them take it. This campaign is not about red versus blue. It's about so much more. My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. He's even running a vegan campaign, whatever that is. He goes by a few names that you may all have heard of. Some people know him as Tofu Talarico. Some people call him Six-Gender Jimmy. I've even heard some people call him James Talarico.
This is what they're going for. It's 100% a culture clash, you know? No material forces at all. It's as Talarico tries to focus on the fundamentals, you know, affordability, education, so on and so forth. Paxton will do everything he can to drag it through the mud. Everything will be about transgenders. Everything will be about woke. There will be he has absolutely no interest in engaging with anything else. Paxton's also unique because unlike a lot of Republicans who are kind of just in it for the game, I think he's an actual 100% committed bigot. That is to say, a lot of Republicans like Trump are politically bigoted, but interpersonally don't really give a fuck. In the immortal words of the guy with the fucked up face. Oh God, that doesn't say that much, does it? The guy with the fish face. Fish face, bald head, muscle man, tiny penis. Andrew Tate, thank you. Andrew Tate. In the immortal words of Andrew Tate, racism is for poor people, you know? But Paxton is unique. Paxton is like really, really bigoted. Really bigoted. He's really committed to those positions.
And others refer to him simply as Low T Talarico. But no matter what you call him, let me tell you this. James Talarico is a threat to everything we hold dear in this state and in this country. He's a threat to our security and our safety. He wants open borders and even said a welcome mat should be at our southern border. He's a threat to our children. He wants boys and girls sports. Gender mutilation surgery.
Just 100% culture. No. This is the guy that said that if the Supreme Court allowed him, he would start enforcing sodomy laws in Texas. That's the only fucking thing he wants to talk about.
Kids. And when asked what he loved outside of his family and friends, you heard what Brandon Gill said. His first answer was trans kids. That's weird.
Charisma
That's a
boy.
radical guy. He's a threat to our prosperity and Texas economy. He said you can't be a Christian if you support the oil and gas industries. He wants to raise your taxes.
God, what a Republican thing to say, man.
And he won't do a single thing to lower costs for you and your family. And finally, he's a threat to our very way of life and our values. I mean, he's a vegan who thinks God is non-binary and that there's actually 6 biological sexes. It's hard to imagine someone more radical than that.
It's crazy. It's like literally like every single thing that he said is just transgender. With like no breaks. It's like the only thing he has to say.
No matter what he says or how much he raises, the reality...
Like this is anti-Republican in a way. Internally, the Republican Party has been moving away from attacks on transgender people as a main rhetorical through line for years now. Like ever since 2022, it's been weakening as a strategy. But he's just it's all he's got.
Is that James Talarico is going to be nothing more than a Texas-based puppet for Chuck Schumer and the National Democrats. He wants the open borders policies of Biden, the woke agenda of AOC. He's going to push trillions more in spending. It's going to continue to drive up prices for all of us. He can never become our senator, but I need your help. We know James Talarico is going to raise more money than any Democrat in America. So I need everyone watching to go to kenpaxton.com and donate right now and support this campaign. Every Democrat, and I would say every Republican, knows that if we lose this state, if Republicans lose this state, we lose the country. Amen. But But I truly believe that
It seems like this is the only thing they're running on. This is the RNC chair.
Because Talarico is a creep, and he thinks he's a vegan. He thinks God is non-binary. He wants to mutilate children. He wants to put boys in girls' locker rooms. People are done with that. That's, if you looked at the autopsy the Democrats put out, it's simple. All those.
They're so fucking bored of their own talking points. They're like, yeah, we're raping the country to death. Yeah, they love little children. Whatever. Yeah, he's woke. He's gay. He's trans. He's a vegan. Whatever. Da da da.
Things, and the fact that they are openly supporting communists and socialists. People don't want the United States Senate. Certainly the voters in Texas don't want that. We think Paxton will win.
Is he even vegan? No.
We think it's a red seat. Hands down, we're not going to have any issues heading into November. We're happy with Paxton, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure he's successful.
Well, you touched.
Because
Apparently, I almost said Talarico. He's already putting out Talarico t-shirts. JamesTalarico.com. I'm a Talarico white tee. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That one's like a freebie. That's a layup right there. Good strategy, too. How's Talarico doing?
Paxton will now face Democrat James Talarico, who wasted no time attacking Paxton online. His campaign posting this, quote, "This is Ken Paxton's mugshot." He was indicted on 3 felony counts for investment fraud. He was reported to the FBI by his own staff.
Hey, Fox News. Thanks for talking about this.
For bribery. He was impeached by his own party for corruption. Now he is the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate in Texas.
Appreciate you running it through. Hold on. Here's Ken Paxton's first anti-Talarico ad.
This is Texas. This is not.
There are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
This is Texas. This is not.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us.
This is Texas. This is not.
They're going to call me a radical leftist.
This is Texas. This is not.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
This is Texas. This is not.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
This is Texas. This is not.
It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
This is Texas.
God, he's so based. I don't want to, jinx things, and it definitely doesn't help that Texas is an extremely gerrymandered and anti-democratic state, but I think that Talarico's got a real, more than 50% shot here. If Paxton really is committing 100% to a culture war campaign, this is just, it's really, really dated. You can't do this when your president's fucking, 20 points in the muck. They can't gerrymander a Senate seat? No, but they can still put their thumb on the scale by closing down voting locations in relatively blue areas. There's so much oppo material to nuke Paxton with, too. I mean, the pedophilia stuff on its own is insane. Texas voter commits to not voting if Paxton wins.
Who'd you vote for?
Cornyn.
And why'd you vote for Cornyn?
Because Trump did not endorse him.
Really? That was a big fact of yours.
It makes me sick that the Republican Party is completely controlled by one man, Trump.
If Paxton wins a nomination, could you vote for him in the general election?
Hell no.
It's also worth noting that if Paxton loses, this would maybe give Trump a heart attack. So this could clear out the presidency as well. I know we don't want Vance in there, but Paxton losing a Democratic Senate seat in Texas, it would be a sign. Pedo Paxton's good. Let's take a look at Talarico for a bit, huh? How are we holding up?
So they're running a handful of highlights of things you've said in the past, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond or clarify. In 2021, in a speech during debate over transgender issues, you said God is non-binary. What did you mean by that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I was being intentionally provocative with that statement. But what it means is that God can't be defined by human categories.
It's such a funny line for them to draw as well, because they insist that your gender is your sex and your sex is defined by genitalia. I guess they're like, God has a big dick? I don't know.
So Paul, in his letter to the Galatians, says that in Christ there is neither male nor female. I'm always going to stand up for Texans who are being picked on by the most powerful, most corrupt politicians in the country. And I'm going to continue doing that.
God
in
would
this
have a
race
fat
and
pussy.
hopefully in the U.S. Senate.
You call it intentionally provocative. Do you regret describing it that way or talking about God that way?
There are some statements that I've made that I certainly regret. There are statements that I've made where I've missed the mark. I'll be the first to admit that. But Ken Paxton is intentionally clipping my cringy comments to distract from his career of corruption. Ken Paxton has a criminal record. I have a legislative record. I've served for 4 terms in the Texas House of Representatives, where I brought Democrats and independents
You're
together.
going to need to be completely unapologetic to go up against Paxton. Like, Paxton is going to throw everything on earth against you. You have to apologize for literally nothing. Like, like a steel spine. You have to be unbending.
To actually make progress for people. I've brought Republican legislators and Democratic legislators together to cut property taxes, to raise teacher pay, to lower the cost of housing and childcare and prescription drugs. I've passed more than 60 bipartisan bills as a legislator. I've also called out the extremes in both parties, on the left and the right. I have called out Ken Paxton for his blatant corruption, but I also called out President Biden for failing to secure our southern border. So,
and I want to get to the border in a second. Let me run one more by you,
Yeah.
because again, the president, other Republicans are already
Sure.
bringing it up. Again, in 2021, while debating a bill that restricted transgender student athletes, you said modern science acknowledges 6 biological variations based on chromosomes to argue that.
Do you think CBS News is going to do an interview with Paxton where they ask him what the fuck he was thinking, giving a 60-day deferred sentence to a pedophile who had raped a child many times over years, and then keeping him out of the sex offender registry? Do you think they're going to ask him that?
Is a nuanced spectrum, not a strict binary. Do you still believe there are 6 biological sexes?
I know there are 2 sexes, men and women. I also know there's a very small percentage of people who have these chromosomal abnormalities, and I believe they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect.
The other one they keep harping on, and it's perhaps the most curious of all, they say you're a vegan.
I'm not a vegan. I'm an 8th generation Texan. I've been eating barbecue since before Ken Paxton's first indictment. And this campaign basically runs
Like, the
on...
line here is so simple. You have to just say, Paxton will say anything and everything to distract from the fact that he is a pedophile who used his power to do fraud, to get condemned by his own party, and to help other pedophiles. That's it. Just drop that. That's it. You don't have to... It's there. You've been given a very easy layup here. You really don't have to get into the nitty-gritty about every statement you made about non-binary God in 2022 or whatever.
On Texas barbecue. If all they have is lying about me being a vegan, I feel pretty good about our chances this November.
This ad from Talarico's team should just be on repeat. Is it good?
Is Attorney General Paxton accused of doing?
The list is really long.
Bribery, dereliction of duty, obstruction of justice,
and conspiracy. A majority of Texas House Republicans voted to impeach one of their own.
60 Republicans voting in favor. Allegations he abused his office to benefit himself and a major donor who allegedly paid for his home renovations and even helped him cover up an affair.
They claim the AG used secret email accounts, burner phones, and a fake Uber account to see his mistress.
We obviously don't expect our elected officials, especially not the top lawyer in Texas, to be charged with a crime.
He's always been on the edge of sort of criminal activity.
3 felony fraud charges which have lingered for 9 long years.
And in between it all, the state's top attorney had a mugshot.
There are calls for Ken Paxton to step down.
Paxton is a repugnant character.
Ken Paxton is an extremely flawed candidate, and I sense the worst is yet to come about his background.
Doesn't even mention the pedophilia stuff. They got to mention the pedophilia stuff. Still a good ad, though. Still a good ad. I do think Talarico is going to be bringing it up, though. I mean, he brings it up in the CBS interview as well.
They're going to be able to play drinking games during your speeches and your interviews on how many times you use the word corruption.
Yeah.
But it does sound like a key word and a key argument you're making here.
Well, I think it's the central problem.
The Bible actually does talk about God's cock in Ezekiel 1:27. Quote, "Then I noticed from the appearance of his waist and upwards something like gleaming metal that looked like fire all around within it. And from the appearance of his waist and downward I saw something like fire, and there was clearly a radiance around him." This is clearly describing a steaming hot pussy. Who the fuck would describe a cock like fire? The dick and balls are literally colder than the rest of your body.
Country right now. I think we're living in an era of corruption. And I don't just mean illegal activity, although we're certainly going to hear a lot about that, given that Ken Paxton is the nominee. But I'm talking about corruption in the deeper sense, the rotting of of our systems from the inside out, the decaying of long-held values and institutions. And we see it everywhere. We see it obviously in our political system with the influence of big money and billionaire mega donors. We see it in our economy, where the top 1% now owns more wealth than the entire middle class. And we see it in our communities, where these algorithms for profit are pitting us against each other, dividing neighbor against neighbor. It's tearing at the very fabric of our communities. And so this campaign is really about taking on that corruption head on. And I think it's why so many people are flocking to this movement across the state, across the political spectrum.
And it's also why the Republicans are on the attack. This morning, the president calls you maybe the worst Texas candidate he's ever seen. And Ken Paxton, your opponent, has taken to calling you Talarico.
Well, I think if Ken Paxton is worried about freaks, he should stop giving Epstein-style sweetheart deals to pedophiles. You know, this is the guy who just released Adam Hoffman from jail and admitted child rapist after one of Ken Paxton's wealthy lawyer friends got involved in the case. Ken Paxton even kept him off the sex offender registry. Adam Hoffman was supposed to serve 25 years to life, but instead he served less than a month. As of this week, he's now back on our streets because of Ken Paxton's corruption. Ken Paxton is the most corrupt politician in America, and it is costing Texans. It's endangering our children, and it must end. I think the Epstein class has no place in Texas, and this November, we're going to come together to defeat Ken Paxton and take back our state.
Well, I sure hope he wins. You imagine how bad it's going to feel if Talarico loses? I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy. I think he has good messaging. Talarico? Oh, for sure. 100%. I'm not so sure about the elections, man. Why not? Oh, these are farmers. These aren't even people. I don't care about the political opinions of farmers. You think Talarico sounds good? Should he be angrier? I think he sounds all right. I think he has to go hard against Paxton, though. Fate has lined him up with an opponent deserving of the worst possible treatment, and he has to meet that call. Mentioned to all Texans, Progressive Victory could use their help to canvass for Talarico. Oh yeah, buddy. If you want Talarico to win, and this could potentially be a razor-close race, depending on how much, Greg Abbott puts his thumb on the scale, you motherfuckers need to be getting involved, okay? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We need Talarico to win. No question.